On a drive not too long ago, Earl took the current Suzuki Celerio on a drive up the mountain of Baguio to answer the question, the very Tito question, would it make it? It did. Although he did say that the ride would have been a bit sweeter, as he puts it, if there were a few more features built in. Features that the Suzuki S-Presso AGS now has. And if you'd allow us, we'd like to share them with you along with our opinions on this episode of Behind the Wheel. Are you looking to compare prices for your brand new car? Well then, visit AutoDeal.com.ph, select the car that you want, and choose to request for a quote from our network of over 500 official dealer partners nationwide. Within minutes, you'll start receiving offers from the dealers you've selected. All that's left is for you to select the deal that's best for you. Get the best deal on AutoDeal. From our first review of the S-Presso back in 2020, when face shields were still the nouveau fashion, not much has really changed on the exterior. It has new wheels, most definitely, but largely all still the same, apart from very minute details like the badges. The wheels do still come in at 14 inches, which keep it above the ground at 180 millimeters, but it's no longer an option extra and standard on the new top-of-the-line model, while the headlamps retain their halogen status. Safe to say that the S-Presso is as cute and as cheery as ever, be it bathed in the popular sizzle orange or the fire red, which we have here today. The little hatch retains all of its charm with the quirky grille, the endearing headlights, and also this lower cladding at the front and rear bumpers. The S-Presso AGS is powered by a 1-liter 3-cylinder gasoline-powered engine that produces 67 horses and 90 newton-meters of torque, mated to a 5-speed auto gear shift automatic. The AGS obviously is the biggest mechanical change, which we'll get to on a quick drive later. When you open her up, you are looking at 240 liters of space at the rear, which is definitely big enough for even 4 overnight bags for the passengers up front. Either that or possibly 2 hand-carried luggages or 60 bags of chicharron. I realize that's a really odd way of measuring things, but if you click on the link found on the screen or in the description down below, it'll explain a lot of things. Now, when you fold the backrest of the second row, in addition to the 60 bags of chicharron, you can fit even 2 balikbayan boxes in there, which is quite impressive for such a tiny automobile. As simple gets, it's really just a bench back here. For your rear passengers. There are 0 toys. There are Isofix tethers nonetheless. That's actually pretty cool. A lap belt for the center, 3 points for either side. You have a small cubby hole that you can fit, I guess, a bottle in there, but it might not be very good because it'll tip forward. Surprising, however, is the amount of space here inside this automobile, either up front or in the back, because look at the way my legs are positioned, and then look at the headroom that I still have for such a tiny automobile. Now, obviously, if Jack were to sit back here, his head would be much closer to the roof. But this being my driving position, Jack will easily fit back here. And that's the surprising thing, really, about Suzukis. So again, bare as bare can be, cloth seats, plastic on the door. And this right here, kids, is basically how we communicated with other people back in the day. Pardon me, but do you have any Grey Poupon? Basic, durable, and easy to maintain is exactly how I will describe the front cabin of the S-Presso AGS, because truthfully, you get a rag and you can just wipe this thing down and it's super clean already. I love it. The biggest change that you will see inside the front end of the AGS, or the S-Presso AGS, is the addition of a 7-inch touchscreen infotainment system. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this is important because this infotainment system has Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Wired, but it still has it. So now this message goes out to all the manufacturers out there that have an automobile that's more than 700,000 Philippine pesos, that don't have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, or at least one of them. Folks, the hammer has been dropped. You've also got powered side mirrors, a rear defogger, and hill hold control, to name a few. The electronic stability control is new for the AGS variant, which also includes a new electronic stability program that accompanies the familiar auto start stop to push fuel savings as best as it can. Now, as different the exterior is, the AGS would be the largest talking point on our drive. But before we do, I'd ask that you please give this video a like if you deem it fit, and also subscribe to our channel because we create these videos just for you. So people got into the Celerio and the Espresso and said, you know, wouldn't this car be great if it had an automatic transmission in it? Lo and behold, that's exactly what Suzuki has done. Sorta. What's inside this automobile is called an AGS, or automatic gear shift. Now, the way that works is, imagine driving a stick shift, but without the use of a clutch. So I put it in drive and it will drive itself and go through the gears, which can be a little bumpy. But when you put it right now on manual mode, I can switch from fourth gear right now, I can bring it down to third, and so on and so forth, without the use of my left foot. Now what that does is that it gives me the freedom to be able to switch through the gears whenever it is that I want, and at the same time, since it's technically a manual transmission, I'm actually saving as much fuel as possible, a little bit more than I would in an automatic transmission. Though I will say this, that the auto gear shift, when you leave it in drive, it can be a little bumpy because it may seem like when you're driving it, it has a mind of its own. So it's actually twofold. It's more fun and actually smoother if you leave it on manual mode. Why are you shaking at me like so much? What's wrong with you? So it's definitely smoother in manual mode, as I just mentioned, because when you keep it in drive, there is a little bit of a hiccup, so to speak. So when you're driving along and you keep your foot on the accelerator, you expect an automatic transmission to switch as smoothly as possible to the next gear, and you keep going. In this particular instance, there is a slight pause, meaning it's as if you were inside a conventional 5-speed manual transmission itself, where it will sort of like bog down a little bit and kick it into the next gear, and then you keep on moving. That is, of course, if you're driving it quite slowly. But if you floor it and then it shifts, oh, I forgot, I'm not on drive, but if it shifts, it's actually quite smooth. And it does go that it's more fun to drive a slow car fast than it is a fast car slow. I'm not saying this is the slowest of automobiles, but it's darn fun when you're putting it up in the rev range. Oh yeah, go baby, go baby. I'm going all of 50 kilometers per hour, but it feels like I'm going 500. It can be quite comical too, because Jack made mention that he attempted to make a U-turn, which he did complete, inside this automobile, but he stepped on it a little bit too much and the torque kind of kicked in, and he felt as if that the car felt like it's going to tip over. Obviously it's not, it's definitely not, but it just gives you that sort of like little bit of scare that it is, whoa, kind of like that. It's exciting. Now some of you might be thinking, why bother with the AGS? It was great already with manual. We asked for an automatic, but they decided to put an AGS. Why not just a conventional automatic? Well, the truth is, see, the 1-liter engine inside this automobile is trying to be as fuel efficient as possible. Unfortunately, to keep that fuel efficiency, you're not going to get that with a conventional automatic, because the whole point of an automatic transmission is to be as smooth as possible, regardless of whatever fuel consumption figures that you may come up with. So in this sense, if you think about it, the AGS really is the best that it can give to be as fuel efficient as possible and to give as much importance to the limited horsepower and torque that you have inside this automobile by giving you the power to control it whenever it is that you want by putting it in manual mode. So it's a great compromise. I mean, after all, the whole point of this automobile is to make sure that you get from point A to point B without getting touched by the rain or burnt under the sun. It still can make it to Baguio if you really want it to, but at the same time be as fuel efficient as possible and also be extremely affordable. Oh, and in just addition, speaking of fuel efficiency, we did not get it on the highway, we did not get it in the city, but we got it all combined thanks to Earl. Now this includes a climb up the mountain to Baguio City itself. So you've got city, expressway, provincial highways, and then traffic, whatever it is that you're going to get through, and then going up the mountain itself. And in that drive, Earl was able to get back a little bit more than 14 kilometers per liter. Look at it any way that you want, but with 2 people minimum inside this automobile, going up the mountain of Baguio and still being able to produce 14 kilometers per liter with a 1-liter engine up front, hey, good job. Hands on the steering wheel. Sorry about that. More raw than refined, the Suzuki S-Presso AGS has proven itself by conquering the city of Baguio. Though I will say that it probably fits better inside the paved city streets, or perhaps maybe even the unpaved back roads of the provinces. Now, despite its diminutive size, I will add that it has a very, very large calling card, because now the S-Presso AGS is the most affordable automobile in the Philippines that has both Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, because it's priced at just 660,000 Philippine pesos. If and when you're ready to make that purchase, head on over to AutoDeal.com.ph. Try the Get Quote button, which will connect you to so many dealers all over the Philippines that will be ready to sell you this particular automobile faster than when Jack hits the baño after drinking his coffee. Because that thing is like... Why'd you make that sound? It's not a very nice thought. I should have said something.